I'm going to just begin by asking how you think a 15-year-old you would have reacted if you told him you'd be directing Toy Story 4. Because I was reading that's how old you were when the first one came out.
Yeah. That's a great question. If I was told that, I wouldn't believe it at all. I still don't believe it. But I'd freak out.
So how does the process work? Because I mean, there's so many talented storytellers at Pixar, and I was just wondering who gets picked to direct this one. I mean, do you all have to is it almost like a job interview? Do you all have to pitch your ideas to? I mean, how does it work that someone says, right, you're going to be the man, we're going to?
Well, I started at Pixar 16 years ago as an intern in the story department. And I then became a story artist, and then was helping out writing and becoming head of the story department, and then a co-director, and then so I kind of worked my way up the ladder, I guess. But I know everybody there, and I feel like they trusted me and reached out, and so. It's a good question. I don't know.
Well, I actually started to cry when I heard You Got a Friend in Me start. That's how sort of emotionally vulnerable I am. But I mean, there's something about these films. They're just sort of magic. What do you think it is about these characters in this world that has touched? It's almost transcends cinema. There's a sort of feeling of home about these films. There's a kind of warmth that millions of people around the world just love.
Thank you for saying that. I think there's something, it's the basic truth of Toy Story is that our toys were alive when we're not looking as kids, right? And I think everyone sort of around the world believes that deep down. These movies are a little bit of a receipt that that's true. And I think that, these movies are based on characters that we know and love. I mean, they're toys and they're fun, but they're written to be real people. I mean, Woody's sort of a flawed character with some blind spots, but he's a good heart, and we've come to love him over the years. I think it's also generational. I mean, it's been 25 years or so since the first one, so it's half our lives have been with these. I think the audience feels a little bit of that. So I think there's just a cocktail of ingredients that create a bit of a warmth. I mean, we make them with love. We love these characters. So it's a reflection of the artists at Pixar that care so much about it.
Because when the third film finished, I mean, it felt like a closed book. I remember when I first found out there was going to be a Toy Story 4, I was a bit apprehensive to begin with because I felt that there was a sense of finality to the trilogy. And then now I've seen this movie and it feels perfect, and the ending feels even more brilliant than the last and everything like that. But I'm just wondering about how the conversation started. I mean, because who was the first person to go, guys, I've had this idea for a fourth movie? Because I imagine, did it feel like a closed book at Pixar as well?
Absolutely. When there was a mention of doing a fourth one, everyone had the same exact reaction everybody does, which is, well, the third one ended and it felt perfect. What are we doing? But it was Andrew Stanton who was a writer on our film, and also he's written all the Toy Story films. I think it's before 3 even came out, he had started an outline, and in that outline was the return of Bo Peep. And so when I talked to him about it, I said, 3 ended so great. Where do you go? And he said he saw 3 as the end of Woody's time with Andy, but it's not the end of Woody's story. Yeah. And when he said that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. We are in a new place, new kid, same character that we know and love. It's not going to be the same as Andy's room. So what would happen? And that's when I was like, okay, I'm interested. Yeah. Let's see where this goes.
I was wondering about how the idea for a fourth came about, because I mean, as established, I'm a huge fan, but the third one felt like it had a real sense of finality, a real sense of closure. Yeah. And then I just wondered about, when the idea first came about that there was going to be a fourth, how was it met? Did people share the same apprehensions as fans? And what was it that made people go, actually, do you know what? This has to take place?
Yeah, everybody at the studio had the same apprehensions. We all did. And it was Andrew really that kind of came with an idea for a fourth film. He was, has been part of all these films. He was our executive producer, one of our writers, and he put forward an idea to kind of what I would say is his personal brain trust at the studio, which is, Pete Docter and Lee Unkrich and all these guys that have been a part of all the films. Those guys all had a handshake agreement that they would not make a fourth film or any film unless it was worthy of being in the world, and that they all agreed that it was worthy. And it was this germ of an idea that Andrew had, that Woody's life after Andy and this new life with Bonnie and what that would be like for him. That and the return of Bo Peep that really kind of sent us on our way.
Because I mean, you're a big part of Inside Out as well. That shares similarities with Toy Story. It's about getting older, isn't it? It's about kind of losing that sort of semblance of adventure within us, but trying to maintain it in adulthood. What do you think it is about that particular theme that just appeals to the imaginations of so many people around the world?
Well, I think part of it is I've approached both these films as a parent, and so, excuse me, just having to think about how Woody is a parent to Andy or Bonnie and his kids, and also in Inside Out, it was like Riley's emotions were parents as well, always looking out for the kid. So I think there is, without sounding cheesy, it's like an inherent love these characters have for something, and I feel whenever I watch a movie and a character just loves something and is really into it, that just kind of pulls me in. I think that might have something to do with it.
Josh does a fantastic job here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like, because I mean, just spoke to him and he said he sort of started off as an intern and then he starts working storyboarding and all these different kind of jobs. Does it feel like in Pixar that when people come through those doors, anything's possible? You know, when you walk in those doors in 15 years, 16 years, you can be at the helm of the biggest film yet type thing. Does it feel like you're kind of slowly bringing people up through the ranks? Is that their sense?
That is the sense. That's the sense. I mean, we're products of that. I was an intern on the first Toy Story, you know, and you came in.
Yeah, I started on A Bug's Life and kind of worked my way up. And
so it's still a young company, and we are always looking for new voices, and I think it rewards passion and work ethic, and I think we're products of that.
And is that one of the biggest challenges in making these movies? Is making a film that will have parents crying in the crowd, but at the same time have kids running off to buy the merchandise and just obsessed with the characters in the world as well?
Well, we never sit down and go, okay, here are all the things we need to tick off. Merchandise, check. It's never like that. It's always about what feels like just the right story for Toy Story 4. What's the right story for Woody? And also, is this a story that I want to see? Because I'm going to have to watch it more than anybody, a million trillion times as we make it. But also, I want to make sure that I want to take my family to see it, whether it's my kids or my grandparents, to go see this film. So that's the metric that we go by at Pixar with all our films, and hopefully that the audience enjoys it as much as we do.
I was reading, I'm not sure if this is just the screening I went to, if this is actually the case, but this is the first Pixar film about a short at the beginning. Is that the case?
You know,
is it the first one?
It might be. If it's not, it's certainly one of the only rare films without a short, and that wasn't really intentional. It was just that it takes so many people to make these feature films, and we had so many films stacked up ready to make with Incredibles 2 and Cars 3 that there just simply weren't the people to be able to make a short because they were all needed on the feature films. So it was as simple as that. We wish we could have made a short. We love the shorts. And in the background at Pixar, we're still making Spark shorts with this different kind of short film we're making for Disney Plus, but we weren't able to make one for for this film.
And what's it like sort of directing Tom Hanks and Tim Allen in these roles? Because they know Woody and Buzz probably better than anybody else knows them. So was it harder sometimes when you wanted to say, Tom, can you just try saying it like this? Because I guess he'd go, well, actually, I think Woody would say it.
No, I know that they can do these characters. They've been doing it for 25 years. And so I actually relied on that. Instead of trying to fight it, I say, here's a part we're still struggling with. What do you think Woody would say here? How would he word this? Or so I relied on their expertise to do it, and that's the great thing. I would say, Tom and Tim both, they just give you gold. Every take is perfect in some way or another. So it was a pleasure, and it was I wouldn't say easy is not the word, but it was very smooth. And
I was going to ask, I mean, is there scope for a fifth film? Which seems absurd because, again, this film has that sense of closure, but then so did the last. I mean, do you think, is this a world we may return back to one day in some form, perhaps not as a movie, but are these characters we're going to see again?
Maybe. I mean, we do feel as the story that we kind of did make this one, just us, to end it. I mean, put it this way: if there weren't another film, we would be satisfied that this is the closure to the story. But you're right. There's sort of an implied future to all these characters, and we're doing short films and things. We're doing some stuff for Disney Plus, but it's funny because we had the same conversation years ago on Toy Story 2. We're like, that's it, that's the end. We swear, and then an idea came up and we chased it down. So we sort of talk out of both sides of our mouths there a little bit. We say never, but we did intend this to be the route.
That's right.
We just can't say goodbye to these people.
It's hard.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time.
So thank you.
Very much.
Nice talking with you. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey!